This is Graphics and Color Part 1, Try 2. Hello, welcome to this lecture on graphics and color. I'm going to break this into two parts. So first, we're going to talk about some fundamental visual design principles. And then for part 2, I'm going to actually show you some of the different tools that I use when I'm working with graphics and color in various projects I do. So first, fundamental visual design principles. These principles come from these sources primarily. Slideology, I highly recommend this book. It does a really good job at helping you see how to make complex ideas clear through visuals. And I also like that it focuses as much on the ideas as in the visual design. I think that's really important. The Non-Designer's Design book is an older book, but it has really clear principles. And then it has a really good section on typography. And then I just found this blog post from Adobe Spark, and it has good illustrations of different design principles. And you can actually use some of the templates in Adobe Spark. So I'll make sure to include that link in the notes to the video, so you can go there if you would like. So first, though, let's consider what we're doing here. We're doing design, not decoration. It's not just about making something pretty. We want to have a good experience for the viewer, and we want to make sure things are balanced and they feel good so that it's not distracting, but we're not just trying to make things pretty. So the main goal here is to make complex information clear. So given that, there's a few different choices we have when we're using visuals that we're going to be making as we design. One is the type of visuals. So when we talked about cognitive load earlier in the course, we talked about different types of visuals. You can do line drawings, animations, videos. So you're making choices over what type of visual to use. We can have different sizes of visuals, shapes, the different shading or color. Proximity is how different elements are placed in regards to each other. And then placement and order is overall on the page. So these are all decisions you can make intentionally to increase your design's effectiveness for learning. When we think about learning design and some of the different theories and the other ideas we've talked about, here's some things to keep in mind. One is cognitive load. We don't want to have too many details, especially if it's something new for novice learners, because the details can distract the learner. We want to group or cluster ideas together. This very much goes back to cognitivism, about how many ideas you can keep in your head at a time. And if we can group things together, that helps the learner manage the information easier. We can use visuals to access prior knowledge. So that can be in a symbolic way. It can be drawing upon a movie or an event. You can use an image to quickly pull in other information the learner might already have. When we're looking more at like a constructivist view of learning or connectivism, we can help the learner connect to personal identity. When they see images, having something that relates to them, for example, having a variety of ethnicities or races or nationalities and ages and genders, can help the learner connect with what they're seeing. And overall, the visual design affects the learner experience. And if learners are enjoying the experience, they're going to be learning quicker and easier. All right, so here's the core learning design, visual design principles I want you to think about when you're doing visuals. And a lot of these are actually examples with text, with typography as well. So first of all is proximity. How are the elements placed in regards to each other? So you see in this one, we have a title, Happy National Book Lovers Day. And then we have the date right under it. So grouping together the title and the date helps us link those ideas together. Might seem obvious, but it's still kind of important. Over here, it's hard to see these on this slide, but we have an image with a word below it. So it's pretty natural to do that, but what happens is people see the word and the image together, so it forms one unit. Alignment. So in text, we have the left and right alignment. We also want to make sure that our images are aligned appropriately. It just helps us organize things in our head. And it's kind of distracting if something's just a little bit off. And so that's an important thing to pay attention to. This is one of the few cases of right aligned text where it lines up on the right edge that I think is okay. I don't use right aligned very often because it's hard for the reader to go to the next line and figure out where it starts. But this is such simple text that it works well. And then where this is left aligned, it kind of creates this flow down to the new alignment. And then the image works really well right there. Excuse me. Here we have left aligned text as well. And here we have just vertical, right, whatever. It works. I normally wouldn't want to combine these different types of alignment, but it works pretty well in this case for the most part. Repetition. So you can repeat ideas or themes through colors, through shapes, through fonts, and through the ideas themselves. So I believe these are all from the same website or post or something. So you see, you have this little shape here, and you have similar shapes in these other documents here. The colors are a little bit different, like this color and this is a little bit different, but it's almost like the theme, the way the colors interact are pretty similar. The fonts are the same. When we keep things consistent and keep that repetition, it can help the learner focus on what's most important instead of being distracted by trying to figure out new fonts or new colors and such. It helps us, again, group ideas together. Contrast. So you can do contrast by color, and it's really important to make sure that colors contrast enough to be very clear and visible, including for those who are colorblind. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that in the next video. We can also do contrast by text or typography and size. So right here, they have this skinny capitalized, and then they have this fat, curvy girls here, which is actually mostly lowercase. So it kind of pops out a little bit better. So that can add some interest, and it can also help you decide where to put what to focus on the most. Hierarchy, just like headings in a Word document where you have heading 1 and 2 and 3 to try to help the reader follow along and organize, we can do the same thing, especially if you look at this menu. The way the headings are and the way things are grouped makes it so that I can easily just scan and go directly to the section I would like. And then finally, space. So in these examples, there's either like this one, there's a lot of yellow background color with just a little bit of text and image. This one, there's a lot of images, and same with this one, there's an image that's taking up a lot of space, which is fine. But also don't be afraid to use white space. So on this slide as a whole, there's a lot of extra white space. And that helps the learner kind of be able to breathe, feel relaxed, and just focus on what's important. That relates to this. This is a pretty famous quote about how perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. So when you design visuals, make sure you're only including what's necessary to fulfill your purpose. It might include decorative elements if you're trying to enhance the learner experience, but be careful not to add things that could be distracting. All right, so I'll see you in part 2 where I'll show you some of my tools and tips.